Hi, welcome to the Bite Size Interviews. I'm Rebecca Bradley and we've also got Jane Isaacs with us today. Almost 14 years ago, Jane and her husband took a year out to travel the world and kept a diary, recording their experiences. On their return, they found that the photos they took drew on memories, but it was reading the diary that transported them back to the sweet smell of Kuala Lumpur and tears of the street music of Bangkok. Realising the power of words, it was this diary that prompted Jane to study creative writing, first at the Writers' Bureau and later with the London School of Journalism. Jane was runner-up Writer of the Year 2013 with the Writers' Bureau. Several of her short stories have been included in crime anthologies. Her first novel, An Unfamiliar Murder, was published in 2012 and later nominated as Best Mystery in the E-Festival of Words, Best of the Independent eBook Awards 2013. The sequel, The Truth Will Out, was released on the 1st of April 2014 and selected as Thriller of the Month by eThriller.com. Her latest novel, Before It's Too Late, will be published on 1st of June this year. Jane lives in rural Northamptonshire with her husband, daughter and dog Bollo. When she's not writing, she loves to travel, is an avid reader, mum, dog lover and enjoys spending time with her family. And you might have heard I've also got a dog in the room. How much noise is Alfie making, Jane?
Not too bad.
We're having our garden done at the minute and he wants to go and have a look what's happening in the garden. Jane, you write police procedural crime fiction. You've got a current series with a female protagonist, DCI Helen Lavery. In June, we'll see the release of a new novel and a new protagonist, DI Will Jackman. What prompted you to write from a male perspective when you already have a series running with a female lead?
Well, I think it started as a bit of a banter actually between me and my husband. I'd finished the second Helen Lavery novel and I fully intended to write another Helen Lavery book. And we were just having a bit of a discussion and he said to me, I'm not sure that you could write through the eyes of a male lead character. I mean, he was teasing me really. I have written through the eyes of male peripheral characters, but not a lead character. And I just thought, do you know, that would be really interesting. That would be really good to try out, to see whether actually I can. And as you start to delve deeper, you start to look at the differences between sort of men and women and how they approach things and deal with things. So it was very, very interesting to do. But it did start off as a bit of a challenge.
Yeah. How did you get into the head of Will, and did you find it difficult with him being a different gender?
Very much so, I think. Especially with the lead character, you have to know them so well. They have to be real to you. Although Helen is very different to me, I found it writing through her eyes much easier than writing through his. I think what I had to do is I had to pull on some of my favourite fictional characters to start off with. I went back to some of my old favourite crime novels that I'd read, some of the male detectives there, and looked at people like Lincoln Rhyme that Jeffrey Deaver writes, even Roy Grace that Peter James wrote, just to see how they reacted in certain circumstances and how different that was to how, from a detective's point of view, to how different Helen reacted in certain circumstances. And then I've got some very good friends that are serving detectives as well, so I spent some time talking to them.
So that's how you figured out a male's emotional response?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you can read as many books, like Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus or whatever, but I think most of the research, when it comes to people, is from people watching how they deal with certain scenarios and circumstances and how they approach things. I mean, I've got two brothers, so I've always been surrounded by men anyway. I've been married for 21 years, got loads of men as friends. So a lot of it comes down to people watching how they approach things and how they deal with things differently to how we do. And it's really quite interesting when you start to break it all down and you watch. Obviously, there's a massive range, and we're all made up of different components, so to a greater or lesser extent. But when you layer in a character, one of the nicest things about it is that you can do what you want with them. As long as you make them realistic. So I can put in as much or as little as I like with Jackman. But I wanted men to be able to relate to him as well as women. So Yeah, it was definitely a challenge, definitely.
Do you think men and women do deal with emotional incidents differently? Did you find it
Yeah,
different to write?
definitely. Yeah, definitely. I think massive generalisation. As I say, we're all made up of different components. But from what I observed and what I learned, women tend to be more emotionally based. Helen's definitely more emotionally based than Jackman, if you like. Um, Women will talk more about things. In fact, there's been a thing in the news fairly recently about male suicide, the high rate of male suicide. And one of the reasons they put forward for that was the fact that men generally don't talk about things. They won't sit and discuss emotions, whereas women will sit and they'll break it all down and analyse and everything else. It seems, and this is only from my own experience, that they'll either make a joke out of it or they'll want to sort it out and move on. But they don't necessarily want to sort of wash up all the emotions, wring them out, and sort them out. Whereas I think women will probably go into a lot more depth there.
How did it feel then getting into his head?
Yeah, difficult at times. Yeah, very very difficult at times. Some more than others. I think definitely pull on your own personal experiences. You pull on like relationships within your family, people that you know, and how you are with them. I mean, Jackman has a wife, he has a daughter, and how he deals with them. And there's certain things in the book when I was writing it that I'd have to check back with like my husband and say, is that right? Would you react in that way? Because I know that Helen would have reacted differently.
Mm.
But I'm thinking, well, from what I can see, this is how a man would react. So this is how Jackman should take it. So yeah, quite different, really. Mm.
And will we be seeing more of Will Jackman in the future? Because I've read the book and I absolutely loved it. So,
thank you.
Are we going to see him again?
I hope so. Yeah, I'd really like to write another Jackman novel. I'd love to work with him again. I mean, whilst being challenging, he was great to work with, and he's real to me now. He's very much in my head. So yes, I hope so.
Brilliant. I'm glad. I'm really pleased about that.
Thanks
for doing this today, Jane.
Oh, thanks very much for asking me.